Welcome to Sleek Notes E-Commerce Boost Podcast, your chance to learn from the e-commerce experts so you can boost your business.
Hey you guys, today's topic, relevant links, external links, internal links, outreach for links everywhere. Julie Joyce, and yes, another Julie today, is the founder of Linkfish Media, and she'll give you her best practices on how to tackle the tedious task of asking for links and then grow your business. So let's go. Julie, welcome so much on this show. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Cool. If you can just start out by introducing yourself.
Sure. I'm Julie Joyce, and I own a company called Linkfish Media, and we build links. We do link audits. We do anything related to link building, really. And we've been in business for over 10 years. I used to do SEO for another company. I kind of got drafted into that. Then I worked for a company out of London, and my husband started Linkfish Media so we could provide services to that company in London. And then word kind of got out, and here we are today.
Right. Interesting. And can you tell me something about yourself that your bio doesn't state maybe?
Yeah, I think, the weird thing is my degrees are nothing to do with marketing. And I think a lot of people in SEO and marketing have like a business background or design or computer programming. I actually started out in anthropology and English, and I wanted to be a physical anthropologist and do forensics or something like that. But I decided to take a year off. And when I took a year off, I realized that the thing I liked most had always been the volunteer work I had done. And I decided to go back to school and get a degree in social work. So then I was a social worker for a little bit, and I worked with adults with disabilities, and I saw how technology was so important to them, and they could, do things that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So I became really interested in learning how to program so I could end up programming for people with different disabilities. And I went back to school to go into programming, and then ended up getting a job as a programmer, and then just kind of stopped. And from there, I got drafted into the SEO team.
What a journey. And how did you how did you come across link building then?
Well, when I started with SEO, we did a lot of paid ads and different writing. And my husband worked at that same company. And he said, we need to build links. That's something very important. But we didn't really know what we were doing. So he ended up leaving, and I followed him to the company out of London. And for some reason, I guess because he had a little bit of link experience, they charged him with that. But I was still doing a lot of technical SEO and technical management. And when, the company we started getting all these referrals, people going, you do links for this guy, and we've heard you do a good job. So he started Linkfish because he needed to have a team that, was here that we could manage. And, I just kind of came over to that, and we didn't work with that client anymore. So it really feels like I kind of just got thrown into it, and never really chose it. It kind of chose me, I think.
Wow. And how are you finding it today? Are you happy about that career change, if you can call it that?
I am actually. I really like it. Sometimes I wish I'd stayed in programming because I really liked it, but I really do enjoy it. We have a small team right now, so I'm enjoying it a lot better than I did when we were bigger.
Fantastic. All right. So if you haven't guessed it, today's topic is link building. And first of all, I just want to know, what is your favorite thing about link building?
No, the thing I like the best is it never gets old and it never gets easier. You can do a great job and you still have to keep putting in that same effort. You can't just kind of do a good job and, coast and then take 5 days off and do nothing, because everybody's building links too. So, you're always coming up with new ideas and strategies, and it's just not boring to me. I mean, it's tedious, the process of it, but the fact that you constantly are having to try something new and, try new ideas for discovery, I really like that because it's not stagnant at all.
Yeah. And why do you think link building is more powerful than other digital marketing strategies and tactics, if you think they are even?
I think, I don't know that I would say it's more powerful, but I think it's definitely something you need. It's a key to ranking well, but, if everything else is bad, I don't think it's a miracle cure like a lot of people think. But I do think once all the on-page stuff has been done, if you're not doing well, link building tends to be what's going to move things, and it's like the missing piece of the puzzle. So, I don't think it's more powerful necessarily, more powerful than certain things probably.
Right. So it's an essential thing of
I
running,
think it
let's say, a
is.
site.
I think so. And some people disagree and they've had great success doing other things. You might have somebody who can just do social media and do really well and build their business that way. And they don't, have much of a link presence at all.
Yeah, sure. Right. So correct me if I'm wrong. There are different aspects of link building, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah, you have you have internal and external links. So external links are the ones coming from somebody else's site to you. And some people don't use the term external. People use all kinds of different terms. But when I say external, I mean links coming into your site, like inbound links. And then you have the internal links on your own site, which are very important. I think a lot of people don't pay attention to that. And in many cases, internal links can be more important for usability and navigation. So, if you want an important page found on your site, you don't want a user to have to use the search box to find it usually. It would be great if, it's like prominent in the navigation. So I think it's very important. But in terms of, if I was going to focus on something as what's going to move the dial faster, I would definitely build links from other sites.
So external links are the way to go, in your opinion?
I think so, definitely. I would focus on them, but I think internal links are very important too.
The internet, it's endless. So how do you find out what sites you want to link to you? Where to even begin? Julie Joyce guides you through how to identify good and bad sites in terms of asking for links.
What we do is actually probably like exactly how you would search for something. We just go into Google or whatever search engine we're using and, think about what keywords are going to bring us a site that looks relevant. So if we're working on a finance site, we might type in something like how to come up with a budget for your college kid. And we will go through tons and tons of sites. And if something looks relevant and we think, this site looks good, we don't see any weird bad signals, there's nothing spammy about it, and somebody might actually click on this link and go to our client site, then to us, that's a site that we want to get a link from.
Are there any sites that are better than others in terms of okay, so you just said spammy sites, but are there good and bad sites linked to you?
I think so. I mean, some of that, depends on what the client wants. A lot of people they base a lot of things on domain authority or different metrics. So some people might say, if a site has higher metrics of whatever tool they're using, they think that's a better site. And if a client, that's what they want, then that's what we do. But I like relevance. I mean, I would like to get a site that ranks well, that has some potential for traffic. But in my opinion, if it's relevant and my link is not going to look like it's just completely out of place, then that's good to me.
Sure. So would you then just say, reach out to them? Because it can seem like a never-ending task reaching out to tons and tons of sites. What method do you recommend?
We email everybody. We used to actually have a few link builders who would work on the phone. And sometimes we have webmasters, we might email them or fill out a contact form request and they say, can you talk on the phone? And, that's not as common anymore. So almost everything we do is totally by email.
And what do your emails look like?
We basically, sometimes it depends on the client. It can be kind of generic. We might say, we're working with a client that does home design, and we found a page on your site where it looks like we could update the content and include a link for them. Would you be interested in that? So generally, the initial outreach is pretty simple and to the point, just to see, they might say, no, leave me alone, don't ever contact us again. Or they might say, can I get more information?
And what if they don't contact you at all, if they don't reply?
We do follow up. Some people do more than others. I think sometimes we've gotten great links by doing like 3 or 4 extra follow-ups. But, you don't want to cross over into bugging the daylights out of somebody. So we do have, in our emails, we have an opt-out. So if somebody says, I don't want to hear from you again, we put them in a big database to never contact again, and we don't bother them. But I'd say generally, if we don't hear from somebody after we've, followed up twice, most of the time we just say they're obviously not interested.
Right, okay. So let's talk, scaling of emailing all of these. Is it just manual personal emails every single time? Or is there a way to scale this?
Well, there is a way, but we don't scale like that. There are a lot of tools like BuzzStream, I guess. You can get emails, put them in, send a ton of emails at once. But generally, with the way we do things, we don't do it like that at all. So each time we find a site we want to contact, it's a complete new email. And generally, they have their little templates and everything. So a lot of it's copying and pasting something pretty simple. But they have to paste in like what page we're looking at, things like that. So we have not scaled very well. I think I'm actually very bad at that because we keep things, so simple to me. We don't have like a big contact list or anything like that.
So you would say one personal email is more powerful than 100 scaled emails?
That's a very good question. And we used to, when we were bigger, we had probably half the team would do it one way and half another. So I would prefer to spend more time like doing a lot of work on the front end and then send an email rather than send 100 emails, maybe get 10 replies, and then you look at some of them and they're not even going to work for you. So I feel like that's just kind of a time waster.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Do you have any criteria to tick whether to tell if the site is relevant or if your content is relevant?
Well, we look at a lot of the metrics simply because, that is, if you use it like as a trending tool, I think if you have clients that say they want domain authority, something like that, we will look at that. And we try to make sure there's no porn on the site. Some clients have different things. Like some might give us a guideline, like they won't take a link on a site that has ever written a post about gambling. And we like for them, things like ranking for their brand name, maybe ranking for some content on the page, and it's not duplicate content. So we have kind of some basic guidelines for us, but then each client tends to give us a ton of other guidelines. So we probably, out of 10 clients, there's, probably 200 different guidelines to follow that we have to keep up with.
And what are your recommendations as to good guidelines to go by?
Since everybody that we work with right now does use Moz's domain authority, we tend to say, we don't want to do anything with a site where the domain authority is less than 30, unless the client approves it. And if we're putting a link in some older content, we usually look for a page authority of 10. And again, that's just come from a lot of clients. We actually had surveyed them when we decided to build a tool internally to manage all of this. And everybody at the time wanted us to use Moz. So that's just built in internally. But, other than that, a lot of it, I think, is just kind of, we get a look and, we just look at it and think, this does look like a good page. Nothing spammy on it. It doesn't look like the site is linking out to a billion other networked sites. So a lot of it is just kind of almost a judgment that I can't really explain that well.
Yeah, that's a bit different, going by human intuition instead of systems in place.
Yeah, I know. I think, and I've actually purposefully not trained our people very well on SEO. So they know a little bit, but I wanted them to always function, just like human beings. Like, would you actually click on a link on this page that you're looking at? And they are very, very good at that, I think. So they're not blinded by metrics, which I really like.
So I'm a bit interested in how long do they, what sort of time span do they use on getting links? Is there anything there? Because I'm thinking, if you don't scale it, you have to do personal emails every time. How long does that take?
Right. Well, we end up with 2 employees and myself. We get about 120 to 130 links every month. And they, I think the 3 of us just work so well together. Everybody knows what they're doing. And they've kind of sped up things on their own. They might have different things that they can speed up. And, when somebody gets behind, they just ask me and I might jump in on something else. But it really is like doing the same thing over and over and over, because for us, it's always worked well.
Yeah. And does it ever get boring?
I don't think boring. I think it can get tedious. And, if one of them complains, they say, I'm just getting tired, I'm sending all these emails and not getting any responses, then generally we'll try to switch it up. Like, how about you take this client and, or maybe I'll do the emailing and you just try to find sites. So we try to keep it interesting for everybody.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, sounds good. So you've once said rank in the real world, not just the engines. And I'm interested in what do you mean by that?
That I think is something, social media has been really important for a lot of people. So I think it's really important for people to have good social media so they can get traffic that way or get their name out. And that can be really good for local businesses. But generally, I just think it's important for brands to have people know who they are and not just know who they are because they saw them online. I mean, maybe they need to advertise in magazines or on a billboard, or maybe they just need to show up at a meeting somewhere or write columns, for industry publications, have a good recommendations from people, like good reviews, and just generally a good reputation. So, there are still people that really aren't going to go into Google to find somebody. And so it would be great if these people could know who you are. So I think you have to not just focus online when you're doing things.
Okay, so if you do build a good reputation, you will automatically get links to you as well.
I would hope so. I think, generally you have a higher chance of that. But I just think it's, I think sometimes with online, we ignore things like in-person contacts. Like we've gotten so many referrals from people. My husband might meet somebody, somewhere and tell them what we do, and then we get a client. So I think things like that are important, just that people know who you are.
Yeah, you really are good old school personal contact, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I know. I feel like I need to step it up some days, but it's working. So that's why we keep going.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe it's not that bad. I'm sure it's not that bad. I hear loads of people saying personal contact, get personal, go back from scaling to doing personal.
Right. It definitely works for us.
Cool. So I'm thinking surely you must use a ton of tools, don't you? Do you have any favorites?
I do. And, we actually probably use fewer tools than most people think. And I tend to be the one to use them. And I mostly use them for audits. And I also do SEO audits. So I use Sitebulb for that. But I use SEMRush, to look at traffic, look at links, look at all kinds of things. SEMRush is just so big that I feel like every day I look at it, there's like something new they've added. And I use Kerbu if I'm trying to do a link audit and somebody thinks I have problems, because they can help you with, identifying the bad links. And Moz, of course, because that's our internal system. But other than that, we don't use links really to try to find sites or to contact sites.
And which one of the tools wouldn't you be without?
I would say SEMrush probably, just because it is so broad. It has, because I do SEO stuff too and consulting and not just links, it has everything I need basically. So I'd say if I had to keep just one, it would be them.
Right, Julie. So finally, I'm really interested in knowing, who's your personal hero? Is there anyone you look up to in the marketing industry or you think's doing a really good job that our listeners should check out?
Definitely, I would say Deborah Masteler, who has been my mentor since I got into the industry. She reached out to me as soon as I came on board at Search Engine Land, and she's just such a legend in link building, and she immediately was like, anything you need, let me know. And she's always been that way. And she is always coming up with something new, which I love. She's always got these great new ideas, and she's so honest and straightforward. I know, if I could ask her anything and she'd tell me the truth, she wouldn't just tell me what I want to hear. And that's why she's always been so important to me, because if I had some crazy idea I thought was amazing and I ran it by her and she said no, that would really mean a lot to me, because I would think she does know what she's talking about. So I think she's amazing. I can't say enough good things about her and how she's treated me. She is on Twitter and she does some Facebook work, but she went to work for Third Door Media, which owns Search Engine Land. So she's currently my editor there, which is awesome. So I don't know that she's really doing much writing. She's kind of transforming all of our articles, which is amazing. And, she runs Alliance Link. And as far as what she's actually doing in her own business right now, I'm really not sure, since I know she's put a lot of focus into the editing work.
All right, cool. So Julie, thank you ever so much for your time. That was really cool and super interesting.
Oh, sure. Thank you very much. Had a good time doing it.
That's all for now, people. I hope you enjoyed this link building episode. There are also other ways to grow your business. And if you send me a screenshot of your 5-star rating of this podcast, I'll send you a massive spreadsheet packed with growth ideas you need to steal for 2018. Here's the steps. Give this podcast a 5-star rating, take a screenshot, send it to me at jf@sleeknote.com, and enjoy your growth ideas. Thanks for now. We'll be back next week.
This session of E-Commerce Boost was produced by Sleeknote. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on tactics and strategies that'll help boost your e-commerce.